Thank you all for coming to the Island Agriculture panel growing on Kodiak Island. Going to highlight some of the different farms and growers around the island that are going on. And many of you here know Alutiiq Growns, so we'll be kicking it off with the Alutiiq Grown Farming Collective. I'm Max Lyons.
And I'm Joe Kewan.
I guess just to start with a little background, so Alutiiq Grown encompasses a farming collective of 6 community and tribally owned farms around the Kodiak Archipelago, and they're supported by Kelli, the Kodiak Archipelago leadership, and other partners. And we say it's both a vision and a mission, a vision and a brand, allowing farms to grow together collectively and share successes and challenges and create a farming family across the archipelago region. So a collaborative way to regionally approach building out community foods production and creating a support network too, especially working in rural areas and just bringing everybody together to support each other through this process and eventually getting to that end vision of food security, year-round production and harvesting of fresh and healthy proteins and produce. Just to provide a little background on how Kelli supports Alutiiq Grown, we say from seed to soil. It's kind of our entire pipeline. So from working on developing seeds and working on a regional seed bank, both for adaptation of agricultural crops and preservation of native plant species in the region, soil and nutrients. So the soil we have on Kodiak is really poor and shallow. So building soil, composting, and doing training, and then hydroponics is part of that too, expanding our growing season so we can grow in the middle of winter, and also complement the soil farming that we do in the summer. And then just supporting the farms through the Alutiiq Grown regional teams. We get together at least monthly or bi-monthly to have check-ins, webinars, invite presenters in, do workshops, community connections with elder meal programs, doing some cooking classes to help people create new ideas for how to utilize some of the fresh produce, such as we have a Caesar salad social or do a pesto party, some of our creative ways to get people excited, engaged. And then the Kiktuk Food Hub. So we've launched a food hub regionally, modeled after the Alaska Food Hub over in Homer, to help with the distribution and connection between the communities and the production on island. A little bit more on the technical training and assistance that we help provide is the monthly team meetings that we got going, doing technical site visits with USDA and NRCS staff and others, doing regional workshops here, and even getting out to some intensives and practicums, going over to the Kenai. There's a great local food scene on the Kenai Peninsula, so getting to go interact with farms and growers over there, and then some webinars and application support for different funding opportunities. If you're here in the room, feel free to raise your hand too, because we have a lot of Alutiiq Grown farmers as I introduce you. So we got Duke Delgado from Spruce Island Farms, back here on the left over in Uzinki. Sam Knoyer from Marlene's Garden over in Larson Bay. Guy Bartleson manages Port Lions Farm. Kaylee Shugak, she's somewhere in the conference from Sycolytic Sunrise Farm in Old Harbor. Joe Kewan is our Sustainable Food Systems Technician at Kelli, and still helps out Guy at the Port Lions Farm and the agriculture in the school that they're doing in Port Lions. Danielle Christensen manages our food hub. I help out with whatever's needed. And then Dan McCoy started growing in Akiak recently hydroponically. Oh. And not least, Becky Gomez is with us too, and she runs Moloch Farms, which is here in town. There's some green turquoise Connex units right behind this building, and they're cranking out a lot of veg in there hydroponically. So I'll pass it over to Joe to do a little overview of the farms, a little virtual tour.
Right on. Thanks, Max. Starting off with Spruce Island Farms. They're located over in Uzinki. They have 2 hoop houses and also outdoor growing. The picture in the middle left, they built it on their old airstrip. And they also have on the bottom left there. That's where they do all their indoor hydroponics The powers that be in Uzinki was kindly enough to donate that building so they could grow hydroponically. And then Duke is also the first farm on island to start agriculture. So that's pretty cool. Next one. And Port Lions Farm, they have two hope houses as well. Pictures of them up in the top there. We decided to do raised gardens in the first hoop house and then also rows in the second hoop house. And then we've got a hydroponic farm. We just installed that back in 2020. A FOGNet approached us with CARES Act money that they needed to spend. And me and Guy both, what does the farm need to be year-round production? And we both looked at each other, and then we both looked at them and said, hydroponic farm. So it's almost complete. They got the power hooked up, and then they should be growing in those connexes at the end of the summer. And then also we got two hydroponic cabinets. There's one of them right there, close up of it. And then also we do bubbler buckets with cucumbers and watermelons and tomatoes. So Marlene's Gardens in Larson Bay. They also have two hoop houses, a little bit of outdoor production. Sam does a really good job with his layouts in his hoop houses. And they also have maintenance, looks like. And then for hydroponics, they were graciously to use the old school building to do their hydroponics. And so some beta bucket systems for vine crops, and then also has two cabinets as well. Yeah, those are onions, and they're being set out to dry. And so they could have a skin on the outside. Lake Sunrise Farm in Old Harbor. They also have two hoop houses. Just recently, they converted one of their hoop houses to hydroponics. It was originally soil, so that's really cool. They're upping the hydroponic green production down there. They also started an orchard on the back of their farm, a bunch of apple trees, and I think about 50, 75 apple trees. And then they also got a couple of fruit trees in one of their hoop houses, and some outdoor production. Moloch Farms, located here in Kodiak. They're just up the hill at native village of Afognak. They have one greens unit and also a packing unit. Becky does a really good job of producing a lot of veg for Kodiak, so really glad that she works really hard at what she does. So. And I'll hand it back to Max.
Yeah, and I guess just to summarize something that we found with hydroponics and soil farming is they do complement each other nicely to where you can grow a lot of, root crops and stuff that grows well in your outdoor season and in the summertime, and then hopefully store those too in root cellars. And then things like lettuces, vine crops, your salad ingredients that don't store as well and don't maybe grow even too well here in the summertime if there's no sun, that grows well hydroponically. So just that they complement each other well. And there's going to be a good presentation later creating local organic hydroponic nutrients too. So I'd encourage you guys to attend that. We were lucky enough to be a recipient of a local food purchasing assistant program, the LFPA. And through that and establishing, expanding our food hub, we were able to utilize that to provide funding to the farms, and they were able to distribute food free of charge to all of their community members. And then on occasion, we do use the food hub to move excess goods from one community to another, depending on supply and demand. And that's our online farmers market is how we we talk about it. Over the last couple years, we've distributed over $109,000 through the Food Hub, working with a seafood producer to bring on some more protein and seafood. Hopefully, bison in the future would be great. And actually working a little bit with the bison producer in Old Harbor already. And then 6 farms here, and recently brought on Ian Zacher too, onto the Food Hub as a local Kodiak producer. And it's reached over 493 households located in 7 communities all around the island. Some of our ongoing initiatives, just continuing to support increased production, both outdoor and indoor. There's some new hoop houses coming online, both in Port Lions and Larson Bay this summer, which is exciting to expand production and fruit production. Establishing our seed bank and working on local seeds and then a larger regional seed bank for the Kodiak region. Working with AFPC and the Regional Food Business Center through their technical assistance grants and builder grants that will be released to provide funding to the farms. And then recently, we partnered with the Chugach Regional Resource Commission to support expanding production across the Alutiiq Nation. So Joe and I have started to work with Port Graham, Non-Wallach, and Katuchek Native Tribe and Seward to get them growing too, and getting them on our webinars to expand and grow the Alutiiq Grown team. And then we have the forum, which is our regional planning vehicle held 2 times a year now, where we have leaders from all the communities come together and talk about the successes and challenges in each community. And that's really the heart of Kelli, and that's where Alutiiq Grown was born from. So continuing to foster that environment and support that. A little bit of looking ahead, just continuing to expand local food production, increase subsistence food access, get more cottage foods and wildcrafted products on our Food Hub and marketplace. Need more storage and processing as our production expanding as well, that infrastructure. More collaboration is always great. And then getting into the kelp, oysters, and clam garden, the mariculture space. So we're doing land gardening and now getting into sea garden as well, which is very exciting. And I'll let Joe just provide a little overview on this slide of where it started and where it's come to now. This is the Port Lions farm.
So I believe this picture was back in 2023. Then all 4 containerized units are on the platforms. And then we're also going to get a 72-foot hoop house that's going to go right here. And then also a fruit tree greenhouse up here that'll have apples and cherries and blackberries. We're also building a new chicken coop. This is the current one. It's going to be put right in this area, and it's going to support 200 laying hens. But we're going to run at least 100 at a time because it's split in half and designed so when this half is dirty, we'll put them in the new half and then just clean the old half and let it air out. So it should work out better than the coop we have now. What else? I believe Larson Bay is getting another hoop house as well. So that's awesome. And then Dinky, I believe they're looking into getting some CGS containerized units to do some more hydroponics in their community. And Old Harbor, they're keeping up with the bison, their orchards and stuff. So, and I think they're also getting a third one, third hoop house as well. Let's see, where else? Alutiiq, Dan just kind of runs the one cabinet down there. I believe they're trying to get their soil hoop house up and running. And so that'll be fun. And then Moloch, they're continuing their production with hydroponics with their CGS. So, yeah.
And the last community, Carlick, too, we're helping them build a greenhouse spring too, so they'll start growing outdoors as well. And the other thing I'll note, before the farm started, this is what it looked like all over. I wish I had the comparison picture, but it was just thick, dense forest. So it's pretty incredible to see what it's grown to and where it started. And I think that's all. So thank you all. And you got to meet Don and Donna Ray too. They've been a big part of our Alutiiq Grown farming family and mentoring all the growers in the community. So thank you. We'll open it up. We have a couple minutes if there's any questions.
And I have a mic in the back if there's questions.
With the ending of LFPA, are you still going to try to find funding to provide free food for the communities? Or do you have a plan for that?
Yeah, we're working that right now and working with farms to create a plan for what the best opportunities are for that. And I will mention each farm is managed separately and how the farm is funded is different in each area. So hopeful that maybe we can get more into, pooling funding together, new opportunities, maybe getting into the medical route. I'm hoping prescriptions, we can prescribe lettuce, and I know that's happening in some areas, and just, we got to be creative. But yeah, continuing to reduce the barrier of cost so that everybody has access. It's definitely top priority.
From me. I'm sure. Yahoo. So there's been a couple changes at the Port Lions Farm. Joe's spot on most things. I will point out that we're going to use our fruit. Hoop house is going to be actually our old hoop house too because of the sunlight. The new hoop in the back is kind of a full sun, partial shade kind of a thing, and the fruit's just not going to thrive in there. So we've made the choice to put a different variety in the back there. The 72-foot hoop house, which is new, is going to be all tubers this year only. We're putting in the chicken coop in that same basic spot, but we've turned it a little bit and aimed it towards the road where the old chicken coop is. That old chicken coop's going to come out and we're going to put an herb and spice greenhouse in there made out of Lexan. Yeah, there's a lot going on. We have two 20-foot connexes coming in for cold storage units, in addition to our current 20-foot storage unit we have. They're going to be run by air conditioners and cool bots. We're going to redo the entire fence. And in response to these question, I think that since we don't have a store in Port Lions and we're growing food and providing eggs, that we're not going to have any problem selling our food to the local people there and still continue to donate to programs like the school and to our senior meal program. Our goal is Shupatnikwa. We're feeding our people. We're not sending one single carrot anywhere until we're all eating the way we should in our village. Collaboration and community and sense of island and one and working together wouldn't be possible without. Thanks to USDA for the high tunnel program. Thanks to Kelli for everything they've done to support the farms over the years. And that's just one example of how a community can thrive, provide jobs, and do it in a way that's going to preserve the land, not pollute anything, and take your traditional values into consideration where they belong. I'm married to a Native lady for 40 years. I have a Native family. I've been in Port Lions since 1983. And so I got to see what before and after the oil spill. There's a huge difference in the betweens to that. And I think a lot of what we're doing now is born directly out of the need to feed ourselves. I think the oil spill opened a lot of eyes onto what can happen in just one environmental accident. So let's together as best as we can and keep partners, but let's keep our communities in mind. The LFPA program is great and we've utilized it locally, but until we get to a point to where we're feeding our people, I really don't have any aspirations of sending anything anywhere, and I'm hoping that we get there because that means we've reached our goal.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ian. My farm is Fermet Bear Dawn, which is Gwelga for Brown Bear Farm. Gwelga is Irish, it's native Irish. It's to integrate a bit of Irish culture in with the Kodiak scenery. I figure this is a name that can't be taken anywhere else. So this is just me, my wife, and my two boys. Mostly me, but the two boys and my wife help in where they can, especially my oldest, Kieran right there. He's 4, and he likes to do just about everything. He makes life very interesting and very complicated. Basically, I'm just gonna go on a format about how we grow here. I just want to preface this is that I'm not doing anything special. I'm not anyone special. I'm not trained. I'm not a trained farmer. I'm a first generation farmer. I don't even like to really call myself a farmer, but that is what I get called. I've just been putting plants into ground and trying to kill them ever since. So what we started out with, we moved here to Kodiak in 2018. And we bought our house, we moved in, and it was great. We started with 6 raised beds that were all milled by chainsaw. We didn't know about the lumber mill doing it for you, so and I didn't want to pay Spinard lumber prices, so we went out there and we built the 6 4x10 raised beds in 2019. We built those in the fall, and then in 2021 we built the timber framed greenhouse. And then the same year, 2021, we also built one of our caterpillar tunnels. And then in 2024, last year, we built the second one. So last year, we didn't have but 2,040 square feet of growing space that we grew on. That doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot of work. That number is going to be important because I'm going to go at the end here and tell you what kind of highlights you can grow in such a small little area. Some of the things that are going to be new this year is that we built a 30 by 50 outside bed. That's 30 inches by 50 feet. I love the 30-inch bed model. It's so much easier to work with. I don't have to, when I transplant, I don't have to spread all the way across like a football field. And it just seems for me ergonomically, right? Because that's what all this is about, is try to do things that are comfortable for you because you're the one doing it. And then we got another 14 foot by 1 4 foot by 40 foot bed. So yeah, we are no till. We don't till. We don't even think about it. We don't flip those beds. What we do here, we implement some aeration practices and some some soil softening with this broad fork. If you're not familiar with the broad fork, I will let you know that with the broad fork is probably about 25 pounds, and that child right there is about 30 pounds. So when you have to lift it up and lift it all the way across, after a 50-foot bed, you're pretty much done. We do add amendments, a little bit of lime, a little bit of pumice or gypsum to get some aeration going, a little pH balance. But for the most part, it's just fish meal, a little bit of bone meal, and a little bit of lime, and that's it. Lots and lots of compost. We soil block everything, and I mean everything except carrots, parsnips, and radishes. If it made sense, I would do carrots, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really work. I've tried it, it doesn't work. But we soil block beets, and I was told when I moved here, you can't do that. You can't start beets inside. You can't start turnips inside, and we do, and they come out beautiful. So this right here is a little kale that we got. I will tell you that there are some pros and cons to soil blocking. Some of the pros is that you get better transplants. I'm absolutely convinced you get better transplants. They're healthier. You can start them sooner. You can leave them in the house longer. So we use 2-inch blocks. So that gives me about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the crop. And so I can gauge the weather, whether it's going to be a week of really cold temperatures or a week of nice temperatures, and I can plant out. So it gives me that flexibility. It's a lot of work. That's the con. It's a lot of work, and you use a lot of potty mix. People will tell you that there's special potty mixes to use to do these mixtures, this and that. Just get a regular potty mix. A regular potty mix is going to keep those plants alive for 6 weeks. And if you find that they're failing, there are kelp emulsions that you can use that will give them their perk back. but I've never had a potting mix that didn't work. I've never had just an absolute failure. So we use drip tape. We use a lot of drip tape. I'm a person of one. I work full time. I've got 2 kids, and I've got 2 kids and a wife that like to go backpacking. You know, so we are integrating this farm into our own lifestyle. Like, we like to do this, but we also like to go do other stuff as well. So when you're growing in these environments, a greenhouse, a hoop house, a low tunnel, or what's not, you tend to need to irrigate. You can't water this by hand. I mean, you can, but you'd be spending your time doing it. And so my time is important. So we use drip tape. It's on a timer. We don't have any underground. We haven't done any like underground piping to pipe into these things. I just use water hoses. We got spigots. I just put a big manifold with a timer on there, throw a bunch of water hoses around. At the end of the season, I just drain them out and put them away. I don't have to worry about freezing pipes in the coming year. I don't have to dig 2-3 foot trenches to dig it. A water hose is just is cheaper than I find than putting in the PVC pipe. So we do it real cheap. This is one of the unorthodox things that we do at the farm, is that we grow these potatoes in towers. This, to me, was born from a project that me and a friend did down in Humboldt. He was a college student living in this rented house with a bunch of other people. They didn't. The owners of the house didn't want them to change the property that much, and so we thought about ways that we can improve food accessibility for college students, because, believe it or not, they're poor and hungry. That's a true thing. They're poor and hungry. And the food that they offer at the college is absolute rubbish. So he liked potatoes. And so we're just like, well, what can we do to not alter the area that we can get rid of real quick if, you know, the landlord decides that you need to get up and go. So we started with these potato towers, and they kind of transformed into these things. First, we tried layering. So we did, straw potatoes, try to like layer it. I found that didn't really work. You didn't get any more potatoes, at least for me. So what we've done is that we've just basically done chicken wire. I find that spent stick chicken straw is a great fertilizer, and I don't even chur it. It just sits out there all year. I just dump it in there. It works. It's a great way for moisture here, because we get a lot of moisture. That it sucks it up. It doesn't. The potatoes don't sit in the dirt and mold, and the wire actually allows drainage really well. Compost. We just use grade compost that you make in your backyard, and then we add a little bit of kelp. Last year in the potato towers, we did 40 towers last year, and we grew 300 pounds of potatoes. So the footprint on these are about 2 feet. So you can think about the 2-foot diameter footprint, and you can grow about 4 or 5 pounds of potatoes. So that's it's a little bit of work, but it's something that you can just put out and go, and you don't have that big of a footprint. So if you've got a little space, these things work fantastic. So some of the highlights that we grew last year. This isn't everything that we grew, but this is like what we were able to grow, like the big things. So last year we grew 200 heads of broccoli, 100 heads of cauliflower, 400 bunches of radishes, 400 heads of bok choy, 200 bunches of turnips, 300 pounds of potatoes, and 120 pounds of carrots. We would have had more poundage of carrots, but we didn't plant them until June. And so they just didn't get to sit in the ground that long. It's a bit of a long, slow growing season here in Kodiak. Last year was particularly wet. And so we didn't really get to the soil temperatures. I don't think in my hoop houses ever went really above 60. Very seldom. I would think 55 would probably be about the average last year, which is really kind of cold. But as you can see, we've got all kinds of things growing here. Like, this is one of my hoop houses here. We've got the carrots here. We've got broccoli here. We've got cauliflower there. But we also interplant. We put, let's see, there's sunflowers. We've got marigolds here. We've got some bok choy there. There's some endive in the back. We've just, we find that we use every square inch of our space, because we don't have a lot of it, and we find that to be particularly productive. And we find that pest control, like when we interplant like this, that we have very little pests. We don't get root maggot. And I believe it's because, we cover everything up in the spring, and these things live with net covers for most of the summer. And the interplanting, I absolutely believe that's a reason for reduced pest management. So we don't spray. We use nematodes for the spring planting, and then we use nematodes for the fall planting. And that's to kind of deal with the pressure of root maggot, which is really prevalent here. So on top of all that, yeah, we've got 30 chickens with 10 more on the way because, why not? So if it's easier to take care of 30 chickens, it's just as easy to take care of 40. And so last year we sold over 200 dozen eggs in 2024, just using the 30 chickens. And that's not including the 60 or so that we use every year. So you can have a small flock and be pretty productive. There's no way I can eat 260 dozen of eggs. We can't do it. So why have 30 chickens? Well, because, they stop laying. They stop laying in the winter, it turns out. And so you have to have enough to get you through the winter if you don't want to buy eggs. If I could do it with half of that, I would, but 15 chickens won't do it. We've tried. We don't eat our chickens. We don't eat it. We don't eat them. I'm a vegetarian, proud, born and raised. We don't crop them out either. So if they stop being really productive after their 4th, 5th year, they just go into retirement and they just hang out. They die and they go into our garden. They keep producing for us. So we don't give them away. We don't try to get rid of them. So we just renew when we get more chickens. It's just because we've had attrition over the last few years. So yeah, you guys want comedy? Get some ducks. You guys want some liveliness? Get ducks. They're loud. They're boisterous. They get into everything. But we love them. They are some of the funniest things that we've got on the farm there. We have 11 ducks, and we had one this year or last year through this year, lay 312 eggs in 1 year. Like stop it. I think she just finally molted. I don't know. She just stopped laying. So, but duck eggs are a bit of a hard sell sometimes. People don't like. Most people don't like duck eggs, but we've been trying to make a market for people to use it in their everyday cooking and baking because they're really great for that. Yeah, I think I'm one of 3 or 4 people on the island that actually keeps bees. As far as Judy Kidder is concerned, I am the only one else that's been able to get honey. I don't know if that's true, but that's what she told me. We got last year. For 3 years, this hive is 3 years old. It's overwintered 3 years. We've got 1 pint of honey. And then I had to feed them. Beekeeping here in Kodiak is extremely difficult. We don't have a lot of floral resources for them. And I find that I'm feeding them about 100 pounds of sugar a season. So in the fall and in the spring. But they're a great crack. They're fun. Also, with all of this, I just want to point out that we do this with our kids. Every bit of it is with our kids. They are involved, they are here, they are engaged. Whether they like it or not, they are out there doing it. My son is 4 years old. He's up at 6:30 in the morning with me to go out to let the chickens out, to feed them, to collect the eggs, to clean the straw. And he loves going out in the garden and getting his broccoli snacks. He is just absolutely amazing to have around. And we don't discourage them coming in. They make life hella messy. They get in the way. They make it slow. If you're looking to be productive, you're not going to be. You just have to take it as it goes. But we are a fundamentally family farm. And that's one of the things that I take real great pride in. We have a couple of updates to the farm that's going to make our production better. It's going to make our selling easier. Last year I sold, 4 markets. I was harvesting every day. I was working every day. So one of the things that we decided to do was build a cold storage. So we're going to be building a cold storage. So I have to harvest once or twice, and then hold on to it and then be able to sell it at a later date. I'm a big soil blocker. This is Johnny's new soil blocker. I can do 72 blocks in one go. It takes 2 minutes to fill that tray up, a 72 tray. Man, game changer. Game changer. Let me tell you. Like it took to do a tray of 35 with the 12 blocker, which is 2-inch 12 blocker. It would take me 5 minutes a tray. And when you're doing, when you're starting 2,000 transplants, it's a bit of a chore. This just makes it real easy. My son gets involved. He loves to get involved and do it. So it's a good thing. Yeah, I'm reaching here. Mushroom production. I like mushrooms. One of the things that we did was that we bought a kit. We got it to flush. We got it to we put it in these pots here to get the mushrooms to regrow. So if I can double triple this to make it cheap, I can start selling mushrooms at the market. And I think locally grown mushrooms, I think is in need. So increase production this year up to 400 heads of each. People really like the broccoli and the lactic cauliflower. They're a long growing crop, but people really like it, and they take up a lot of bed space. So we're going to use some of those extra beds that we've got that we built that will allow us to do 4 rotations. So, and that was it. So we got a couple more minutes for questions.
Yeah, we have a couple minutes for questions.
That's just the regular size. I don't know what you mean by 10 by 20, but yeah, it's like the big tray. Yeah. It's I guess a 10-20 tray. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. That's a total 10-20 tray. Yeah, it does it all in one go. Yeah. They've got the Swift blocker that can do it, but this is way faster. Yeah, less steps.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Nope. No. It's above ground. It's insulated. It's wood building. You can see it's going to be insulated, and it's going to have CoolBot AC in there. Yeah, it's about the cheapest way to do it. I was able to build that thing for about $2,000. Yeah. So for $2,000, I'll be able to store not only my crops, but other people who have potatoes. Yeah.
And
What the cool it'd be it's gonna be, a regular air conditioner unit, like a with the CoolBot. Oh, I can find that. Let's keep them cheap. It's supposed to. It's so I can stack things. And we have other people in our neighborhood that have problems with their storage. And so I'm hoping it becomes something that they can use and around it. So.
and
Yeah.
if people have questions for you, can they get in touch with you somehow?
Oh yeah, they put that. You can
Okay.
contact me. You could just find my Facebook page. Just type in Brown Bear Farm. It'll be the only one, I promise. And you can contact me on Facebook.
Okay.
Oh yeah, if you're a follower, sometimes you get. I do all the chickens and ducks are employees of the month. They get their. It's pretty self-deprecating. It's never flattering, but it's always funny. So
Oh, thank you, Ian.
we got one.
We got one more presentation
Okay.
to go, and
Okay.
we'll do some
Okay.
questions at the end.
If you want to
can.
get a hold of me, just come over here. I'm sitting. You can talk to me. So.
All right. I'm going to move here just a little bit. I am a mover and a hand user. I I was traveling last week when we were getting slides together. So you get this great slide, and then you can have homework because one thing that I do a lot of is online activities. So whether it be our website or Instagram or YouTube or all those areas, you can go and check out the day-to-day happening. I'm Kelli Foreman. I'm a small farm here in Kodiak. I'm at Kodiak Baptist Mission. Their property there. I own the farm, but so the name is a little different, but that's where we work back and forth. I came to Kodiak a little over 20 years ago now, which is kind of crazy. I am a fifth generation farm kid on both sides from Nebraska, and our farm is still down there with my family. I moved to Kodiak to not farm, not in the plans. I did not want to do that. However, it's in me. It's just in who I am. And there were a few things as a young single lady moving up here that I noticed coming from a farming family. So my dad did beef cattle. My grandpa was hogs. My other grandpa did sheep. My mom was the goat lady. My one grandma did the chickens and eggs. I mean, we kind of had the whole idea. So I never bought food. I never had to go to the store. And that really probably sounds odd, but I was in Kodiak and I went to the store for the first time. And I quickly realized the quality of food was very different than what I was used to. And then comes your first big winter storm, and all of the shelves were empty. We did not need COVID for empty shelves. It was very common and is very common here. Things like milk and eggs and butter and all the staples were gone. It just seemed crazy to me that that would be a thing. And then there wasn't a lot of knowledge. While agriculture was a lot of the foundation of Kodiak, when I came, there wasn't a lot going on in that area. And maybe a little bit because I grew up in Nebraska and it's so prevalent everywhere. I was amazed by like the ocean that was my now cornfields and like the fishing market. It was just very different than what I had. So like I said, I wasn't going to farm, but I couldn't help but get into that. So in come my first two miniature Nubian goats, Air Cargo from Wasilla. By this point, Air Cargo, I think, has me on a do not let her fly anything here anymore, please, after the last pig got loose running through their unit. But it was a strong odor when I got there. We named the pig Dash Flash Piggy Wiggy Foreman to go after that. Anyway, so we brought in the goats, and a big part of that for me was growing up. My mom was diagnosed with MS right after I was born. My sister had Crohn's disease and was labeled that failure to thrive. She brought goats in and they lived on raw milk. My mom, 42 years later, is still with us, doing pretty darn great, and is a registered nurse who made food her medicine. You can't help but take notice of that. And my sister, who was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, does not have that anymore and thrived on that goat milk. So being able to have goats, which have a light footprint in Kodiak, which you guys have enjoyed a lot of our rain, it rained, I think, 90 inches in 2024. That's a lot of rain. Well, goats have that light footprint. They can get around really easy. One of the things I remember growing up as a kid was in the middle of the night, my mom putting my sister and I in the car, and we would go to these homes, and mom would have the goat milk, and these little babies would be crying, and she'd be passing off goat milk to moms. And so I knew that this milk helped keep people alive. And in an island community where we both that a little over 95% of everything that we have comes by boat or by plane. I'm not sure where that statistic came from, but it might be more. I knew that to be able to provide a life-giving milk like goat milk, so if the planes didn't fly and the boats didn't sail, and if a natural disaster hit, that while I could not supply everything for everyone, I could keep infants and toddlers alive until we could get that formula back to our island. And I knew that that was a stable thing that we could do. Now, any farmer, I was gonna say, like, you don't just stop at one greenhouse, you just keep adding. And I've gotten to see some of these folks, like, you just kind of keep growing. So on our farm, we wanted to get to the level of being able to be somewhat sustainable. So we're not big, we're small, but we have hogs. So my breeding sow, she did, I keep changing the number because I try, it's like short-term memory because you want to forget. I think she had 35 piglets this last year that we raised. We have a free range cattle herd over on Woody Island, about 35 cattle. It started with 13 and we keep that at a good sustainable number. They are completely self-sustainable. I say that they are grass fed and kelp finished. When Graham, our butcher, comes to the island, he's like, how did you finish these cattle? And I was like, I didn't do anything. They picked the kelp, which is a pretty neat thing. We have our chickens and ducks that we do our best to keep, even though the eagles try very hard to keep us out of that business for sure. We have rabbits. We do. I have the flowers of the farm, my two little donkeys that are just really a lot of fun to look at. A mule, and we hook the plow up to him every spring and every fall, just so that we can teach, and then horses as well. So there became this idea that everything could work together. Like you have to have pigs when you have a dairy because those goats or that cow is going to milk, and you have got to be able to get rid of some of that milk on days you don't want to do that. So everything works together. I had the crazy idea to start a dairy. And my dad, who, a longtime farmer, said, please do not do that. I have never met a happy dairy farmer in my life. Well, me and most of you don't tell your daughter not to do something. I was like, darn it, Dad, I'm doing it. And he's like, I'll never see you again, Kelly. I started what was at the time the only grade A certified goat dairy. And so when Havemeister's closed and before Plagerman's began, we were that little goat dairy up in Kodiak, Alaska. So we have met every single regulation that a grade A certified dairy in Wisconsin that has 10,000 cows meet on a smaller level. Today, now I have switched over after 7 years being grade A. I'm now a registered raw milk dairy and I milk an A2A2 cow with another one on the way to have a calf. So we'll have two. And I continue to milk goats and we work back and forth. That A2A2 milk is super great because it's a protein that's the most like goat milk and the easiest to digest, which is important for me being on this island. The last part, and I actually think what the most important part that I can help provide, I definitely, I love the quality of food that we can have. Today we sold out of everything at the farm shop this morning, and I love that. And I love that we have a sustainable model where we're not growing too big. We're not getting too big for our britches, that we're able to do that. My husband is here. He is not the farmer. He is not that guy. So it's me and my 15 and 12-year-old son. And the 8-year-old is our mascot. We are working on his ability to be helpful, but right now he dances and keeps us laughing mostly. But then the last component of that is really education. I feel very, very committed to helping teach our future generations about farming. And for myself, I grew up with it, right? It's in my bones. A lot of people, you know it. Well, I wanted kids to know it. And so whether that be through, we started in 2020 when everything else was closed. I said, I promise we'll stay outside. And we had a little farm and ranch after school program. And we've been able to do farm internship programs. This last year was a lot of girls, and my 3 boys were like, Mom, there are a lot of girls running around the farm. Like, can we simmer that down a little bit? However, when you start to teach these young people about this, they now have a desire to do it. And I actually think that that's the best way that we can have sustainability and local agriculture and to be able to bolster that. If we can raise these kids to care, then they're the ones that are going to change how things are in the future. Like Ian said, there's a big purpose in why we do this. Because for me, I had knee replacement this year. I couldn't play the leading role in my farm. I was on the sidelines. But my one person turned into 3 with my 3 boys, and that's a pretty darn good return. Your one's turning into 2, and that keeps going with all these people that we can reach. So yes, I love livestock, I love farming, but I truly love to educate. I had, I think, 17 farm interns this last summer that were with me Monday through Friday. We did do Friday, and then they helped with the Saturday farmers markets. And on top of that, we did, I think, 10 weeks of camps with kids. And I went all the way from 2-year-olds to 16 throughout the summer. You did hear I had a total knee replacement in August, so probably won't be quite as big in the coming year because I still got to chase my boys around. But that overall is us. That's what we're up to. If you want to see the day-to-day operation of everything I do, I'm a huge Instagram person. I love it. I put my life on it because I think that's the best way to be able to really share what we do. And my mom depends on it. She's down there in Nebraska and she's like, I need to know. So I'm talking to my mom every day. So I figure I can talk to you too. If you want to see our butcher process that we have, I have a video up on YouTube with Graham Oakes. He's up on the mainland. He comes down once a year. Just the most incredible guy ever. And he works with us. We go to Woody Island and we do, I mean, from start to finish, that type of work there. And I have my website, thelastsmallfarm.com. You can see all the practices that we have as far as being a raw milk dairy and what we do each and every day to ensure to have the highest, best quality milk as well. So if there are any questions, I'd be thrilled to answer them for you. Otherwise, that's us. Yep, Woody Island. So you can see it right across on the channel there.
Is that like a BLM type of like grazing lease type of
So
situation?
we have about 650 acres within our lease, and then our cattle still free range. And so with our different native organizations, we have a handshake agreement, and it works pretty well.
And you process the cows on the island?
Yep. So we go over, we wait until November when the temps cool down a little bit. And this is where having a really amazing butcher is important. So our cattle are not herdable. They'll follow, but if you try and normal traditional, that's not going to work. So we do longer range shots. And then we do the bulk processing there and we quarter, and you can see it right here. That's actually this right here. So we quarter, we put it on our landing craft, which is super helpful because my husband has a boat. So that's nice. And so we put it on the landing craft, take it across, and we've made our own little butcher shop there. And then Graham sticks around. A lot of people will do their own. I need his help. And he used to work at a butcher shop on the East Coast. So he cuts everything down to finished product. It is. And that's where you should really, if you go to YouTube, it was for me a level that I never wanted to get to. However, I appreciate I did. It's that wild meets farm, and it really keeps the heart alive. And the appreciation that I have now is much more than it used to be. Yeah, absolutely. So Graham does a really great job. He knows how to position and set everything into a natural position. And he did we got there at 10 a.m. in November, and we were on the boat done with 7 cattle by 3 p.m. Yeah. Yes.
How do you determine which cow you're going to take? I mean, is it just random? You
No.
walk by and
No, there is a plan. So we do have some little intervention, and so we castrate our cattle. We had Dr. Oakley come, Yukon vet, one year, which is a little bit for me like a cattle person. I'm like, oh, this is embarrassing. But we darted the calves at that time so that we could castrate them. This last year, Chris Fleckinger from Pasagchak Ranch went out with them, and we grabbed them and castrated. So we do steers. And then we leave our cows there, and we do have to make those choices. There are times like this year I had an old cow, and so that's gonna go for beef, because while they're over on there, they need to be in really good health, and we don't want to put an old cow in a position where they're gonna have to make it through winter and not succeed. Yeah.
Is it AI, or they do it the old-fashioned way?
We do it the old-fashioned. So again, we do things a little different, but Craig Stratman out at Northland Ranch is a great friend of ours. And so he'll have new bull stock, and we keep one of those little stocker feeder sized. And when I have a vet that comes up twice a year from Wisconsin, and we shrink him for a little bit. We put him on the boat, cover his eyes, take him across, and he wakes up in a paradise full of women. Yeah. It's a small community, but really that's where Kodiak is so great. We are made up of lots of small farmers that love to help each other out. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yay. Thank you. You know, so one of our, it's really interesting, this skier, and everyone wants to know what it is. It's actually technically a cheese, but it's more like yogurt. And when I was grade A certified, they're like, you're going to have to get this other capper if you're going to do yogurt. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, Dr. Sarah, I cannot, like, I don't have the money to do this. And I found skyr. Skyr is technically a cheese because you put rennet in it and it changes how you make it up. And that way, when it's a cheese, I can put my hand on that lid. And that's how it all began.
Hey, Port Lions Farm, I'm curious about cattle, pigs. We're looking at, in the future, this is in our vision. Right now, we're just doing produce, fruit,
Yeah.
chicken eggs. Then we don't sell poultry either, only eggs. They're just too old and tough by the time they're done laying eggs to even think about it. That's probably why you don't eat them, Ian. That being said, in the future, is there a chance where we might be able to pick your brain partner with you, get calves?
Mhm.
We're looking at pigs in addition, but is this something that we can
Yeah.
stay in touch with over the coming years? And
Yep.
possibly when we're ready to get our own livestock, we could partner with you?
Absolutely. Yep. That's obviously I did not keep my 30 plus piglets this year. We kept a few, but otherwise they go around in the community as well. And the same thing. And the nice thing is between Craig and Chris here in Kodiak, we have got the cattle connection for you. That one's a good one. And as much as I don't want to keep pigs right now, I'm the only one with a bred sow on the island, and I am going to do it because I just can't imagine we'd be without. So we'll have piglets for you. Anybody else? Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much.